Mulishani and Moiseni. This is the SMA Media Centre in Ndola, and this is where I'm based for the next year. So I'll tell you about that, a little more about that later. You're joining me on Sunday afternoon on the 15th of October here in Ndola. It's 24 minutes past 3. I think the temperature is at 31 degrees Celsius at the minute. So I just thought I'd let people know back home and elsewhere what's happened in the first 10 days or so since I've arrived here, and hopefully I'll be able to keep a series of blogs or video blogs going throughout the time that I'm here in Ndola. I guess the first thing would be to start at the start in my arrival in Ndola. I arrived very, very tired, exhausted, not just from the relatively long journey. It was kind of just over 24 hours in total journey, 3 flights, but more so as a result of being exhausted from very bad preparation before leaving. So it was a huge rush for me to get things done before I left Ireland, and that took a big toll on me. I've only started realising since I've arrived how tough that was physically and emotionally. That last week, really, I kind of had a very tough time. So the lesson is prepare and leave time for preparation, and that was a big lesson for me. Since arriving then, up until now I've been having a very gentle orientation into society here, society in terms of the place where I'm living, but also in terms of just the broader sense of living here in Ndola and in a completely different country. My living situation is that I'm here living with the community that I'm serving or are part of. It's an order called the SMA Fathers. They're an order of Catholic priests. They've been in Africa, I think, around 150 years. There are huge differences. The first thing is the weather. It hasn't been too hard. I've just stayed in the shade, and I'm coping okay. The weather in the past week actually has been a little bit atypical as well, which has helped because there's been some thunderstorms, and of course that brings the temperature down. Incredible downpours, incredible thunderstorms. I've always been a fan of thunder and lightning, but the other night there was a thunderstorm the likes of which I've never experienced before. The noise was incredible at 2:30 in the morning. So that went on for about an hour, so that was pretty interesting. Travelling, driving, quite different set of standards. A Zambian friend in Belfast had told me about the big differences in the driving conditions here. So I had my first driving lesson / experience on, I think, the second night that I was here. Father Tom, my mentor and friend here, he decided to take me out for my first driving experience at night. It gets dark here at 6 o'clock every evening, and driving at night here is quite challenging because there's very little street lighting. And one of the interesting differences as well about life here is that no matter what time of day it is, there always seems to be a lot of people just walking along the sides of the roads, pedestrians. So you really have to be on your toes. You really have to be watching out in the shadows because there are people walking along the sides of the roads and crossing the roads. And because the road surfaces sometimes are quite varied here, and the edges of the roads, there are lots of potholes, and so cars and pedestrians alike have to kind of take erratic maneuvers, erratic measures to avoid hazards and potholes. So you've got to be on your toes, basically, is the bottom line when you're driving day or night here. That rattling in the background, you might be able to hear. It's the sound of our gate opening and closing. So it's one of our community just arriving. The gate is controlled with a remote control, so it opens and closes. That's what that is. It's not gunfire or volcanic eruption. Speaking of volcanoes, on the flight from Nairobi to Ndola, my last leg, I flew over a volcano. First time I ever saw a real volcano. Spectacular. Haven't worked out yet where it was. I must go back and look on the map now that I've mentioned it and find out a little bit more about it. Adjusting to a new time frame or daily structure has been taken me a little while, and I'm trying to get into some sort of routine. And so I'm trying to go to bed earlier because it gets light 5:30, 6, and for most people here, as far as I can see, the day starts at 6. I've started an exercise regime, and I've gone out for a few runs in the morning. The first run I did was one evening just at dusk, and too hot, way too hot. I had a face like a beetroot on me for about an hour afterwards, and I only managed 15 minutes out and 15 minutes back. Straight away on that run, I noticed the effects of not having exercise probably in about a fortnight before I left because I was so busy. B, being so tired, I think, and run down. C, the altitude that we're at here. I think we're 3,000 meters above sea level, if I'm not mistaken. So that straight away I noticed my breathing was pretty laboured. Normally I'd be quite comfortable starting off on a run, but straight away, and the heat then as well. Fourthly, the heat. But our mornings now are much easier. I'm hoping to get a bicycle at some stage. Internet shopping and the lack of it here. I've spoken with a number of people here in the community and some of the staff in the media centre where I'm based, and none of them have made purchases online. So I'm not sure to what extent that's a factor of the internal systems here, but it's not one of those things that we would have taken for granted back in Ireland and the UK. It's completely different here. It just doesn't seem to happen. So I'm going to probably experiment and order a few small things and just see how long it takes for them to arrive. So far though, my needs have been well catered for, especially eating. The catering staff here are fantastic, and we get our meals, our midday meal prepared. It's a cooked meal every day, and it's been brilliant so far. So I'm probably not going to come back from Africa skinnier, that's for sure. So challenges, yeah, just to kind of summarise some of the challenges that I've encountered really, the first one was the climate, adjusting to the weather. I've mentioned that already. Technology then as well. In one regard, the internet supply access is a little bit intermittent. So certainly in the first couple of days it was very haphazard, but it seems to have stabilised now quite a lot. My quarters, my room is a little bit out of range of internet, so I had a bit of frustration getting around that issue, which I managed to do by buying a little dongle type MiFi portable router. It's a pay-as-you-go router thing, so I kind of use that sparingly now in the evening, or if I'm over on my side of the compound and I want to listen to internet radio, or I actually watched a little bit of video online, but that eats it up, as I'm sure you know. So keeping an eye on that and trying to get a sense of how much it costs to use internet and so forth. bought a local SIM card with one of the networks here for my phone, but I've had a problem with that now, so I'm going to have to go and try and get that sorted out tomorrow as well. So, but as regards communication back with Ireland, then Skype has been a great godsend. My parents have had baptism of fire, but thanks to the, sorry, I shouldn't be touching the mic here. Communications, no. Anyway, Skype, my parents, my brother Damien and his wife Bridget have been guiding them through the ins and outs of that technology. So we've had some great video conferences, great video calls so far. We had a power cut here the second night that I was here, 20-hour power cut. So that meant for one thing, I didn't have an electric fan in my room. There's no air conditioning, I just have a fan. But I was so tired, that wasn't an issue. I was still able to sleep no problem that night. So there's a backup system that's powered by solar power here, so we're not completely in the dark when the power cut goes, but it can be a little bit inconvenient. Yeah, another really interesting challenge is the fact that I feel so conspicuous. It's not something really that you would normally be aware of in everyday life, but as a white man here, I'm profoundly aware of the fact that I'm different and I'm easily identified as not being from here. I suppose I experienced it to a small extent moving to Belfast from down south, but this is on a completely different level. So you're aware of the fact that you're easily spotted, and like every place, there are good people and bad people, and some people will see that as an opportunity, and it's something that has me kind of on the back foot a lot of the time. I'm cautious by nature, and that's kind of one of the things when I'm out in public places. I tend to be quite guarded in meeting people or when people approach, because part of my orientation so far has been being made aware of potential ways people might try to exploit the fact that I'm a newcomer, the fact that I'm a white man, and yeah, it's just something that I'm just going to have to try to be patient with and be sensitive, try to be in the back foot, but also try to be open to some of the opportunities, the good opportunities that there are there, and the approaches that have been made. When I'm out running, for example, people will call out to me different things, the vast majority of which are friendly and encouraging, and part of that conspicuousness then is, there's an obvious poverty divide here, like everywhere, but it's a little bit more apparent in different places here. And I've been approached, and the result of those approaches and my reaction to those approaches and dealing with them, coupled with the fact that being in a faith community and being someone who has a belief in God and the example of Jesus Christ, that really has made me aware of a level of hypocrisy that there is. And I'm talking about myself here primarily. So that's something that is a challenge that I'm being forced to deal with as well, and one which I guess will play out in time, and I can only be patient and trusting and honest, try to be as honest with myself as I can. Highlights, by far the greatest highlight so far has been the welcome that I've received, the warm welcome from the staff, from the community, the staff in the house and also the staff in the centre. The kind of general welcome from people in the street, the smiles that you get when you're running past or driving past. Attending Mass for the first time here, actually I was reduced to tears by the quality of the singing. Some of you will know that I like to sing, and I've been involved in a little bit of choral singing, but you know, that lovely, rich, authentic African choral sound is amazing. And I was at Mass today in a different church, and again, beautiful harmonies, and it's just an amazing addition to the liturgy. Other highlights, actually last night was the Diwali festival, the Indian celebration. So we went along to an amazing fireworks display at the football stadium here in the grounds of the Levi Manawasa, I pronounced that wrong, but the big football stadium here in Ndola. Saw an amazing fireworks display and had some great Indian food and ice cream. Not sure if it was Indian ice cream, I think it was Italian ice cream. But again, yeah, a lovely highlight so far. So that's kind of a taster of life here at the minute. I start working in earnest this week. So the next time I give you an update, you'll be able to get a sense, or hopefully I'll be able to give you a sense of the type of work that I'll be doing. And in the meantime, thank you for all the support that you've given prior to me coming here and while I'm here. And keep me in your prayers and your thoughts, and do get in touch. I've been very bad about responding to some of the approaches, some of the communication so far, and that's only partly excusable by the technology problems that I refer to. A lot of it's just my own lethargy, so sorry for that. But stay tuned, and I'll have more for you the next time. So goodbye from Ndola.